All right, Taylor Miller, T Millie, how we doing?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good, good. You're coming to us live all the way from the Philippines. How's life been there? How's the adjustment?
It's crazy. Life's been good so far. Honestly, the it's been surprisingly good. Um, not a lot of people know what to expect when they think of the Philippines. Even me being Filipino, I was like, yeah, you think third world country, you think about poverty, but um, just like anywhere, there are nice places and the less fortunate places. But I'm lucky to be in a really nice area. We've got um, everything that we need around us. I got my girlfriend out here with me, and one of the things that we were worried about was like, man, are we gonna be able to, get good food, good water, have all the things that we have in the States, and luckily we've been able to have all those necessities and more. So it's been great.
Well, that's good to hear. The time change is crazy. How long did it take you to get fully adjusted to that, you think?
Oh, it took me at least a week. The nice thing is we have 5 a.m. practices here, so the way my jet lag worked, I was waking up at 3 a.m. and just wide awake, and by the time I was getting picked up, I was ready to go. So I almost was more upset when the jet lag wore off because the mornings got harder. But yeah, it took about a week.
Dang. Well, that's good that it worked out in your favor with the early practices. So tell me a little bit about the pre-draft process for the PBA. How did you find your agent? When did you know this was kind of the route you wanted to go?
Yeah, so it's crazy. My uncle was an assistant coach for a team out here years ago. So I've always known about the league. Didn't know many details how it worked out. And it wasn't until after my junior year that I was in college that I was thinking, you know what, I might want to go play professionally. It always been a dream, but I hadn't had the greatest college career up to that point, and it didn't really start to materialize or look like a real opportunity until after my junior year. So I was connected through social media, just on Instagram, with a couple Philippine agents. I obviously have Filipino blood. My mom's Filipino, so I'm half, and I'm in a little bit of a different situation. I have my Philippine passport, so I always knew that was an option for me to come and play out here. But yeah, I was connected through some social media to some agents after my junior year of college, and then had a really good senior year. And they continued to contact me and say, this is a real opportunity. I ended up after my senior year signing with Keith Crater, Yoli Child's agent, who I was connected with through Jordan Gassick, one of my good friends, and he was like, let's do it. Let's do whatever it takes. At that point, I didn't have my Philippine passport. I knew I qualified for it, but I didn't have it. So got to work on the paperwork, and it was a long process. It was tedious. There's a lot of hoops that I had to jump through to get my passport, but I knew it would work out in the end and be a huge blessing for me. Just being able to, most guys when they go overseas have to, you know, fight for a smaller amount of jobs being an import player, but I'm blessed to have a passport that allows me to, compete for a spot with less guys. It's a little bit of a less competitive way to get in. But no, I got my paperwork through, and it's weird. This league has a draft. It's similar to the NBA draft. It's a rookie draft. So guys who are looking to play for their first year in the PBA throw their names into a pool, and um, I was one out of 100. I think it was 128 players that applied for the draft. And there was a combine too. There was a combine in the Philippines. I didn't go to the combine. No one really knew about me. I was hearing from about half of the teams in the league. There's 12 teams in the league, and they were really just relying on film and conversations that they were having with me. And I was only one of four players who didn't go to the combine. Um, and I was lucky come draft night to hear my name. Went 12th overall in the first round. A lot of good talent. Um, so yeah, it was kind of a crazy process. It was surreal. I didn't know that I would be having to do all this paperwork, and it was pretty stressful, not knowing if I was going to get picked up, which team was going to take a chance on a player that they had never seen in person before. And the it was all said and done. Come draft night, it was 2 a.m. You said the time change is crazy. It was 2 a.m. I was sitting in my living room in Utah and heard my name called, and it's kind of a cool experience, cool feeling knowing that, years of work and playing basketball all led to that moment of, no, I'm going to be a professional basketball player. So it was cool.
I think it's really special that they do the whole draft process because I mean, there's not too many leagues around the world that do that. I know the NBA G League has a draft. I don't know of many other teams or many other leagues that do that. So it's cool that you were able to hear your name called and I'm sure that makes you feel wanted, being a part of the team. It's not like something where you're sitting around waiting on draft night. You heard your name called. That's really cool. So what did you know about, is it terra firma? Is that how you say it? How do you say the
Yeah,
team that
yeah,
you're on now?
yeah. Terra Firma Jeep.
So what did you know about them? Did you know anything about them? Are they one of the teams you had some conversations with before?
No, so it's funny. I said six of the 12 teams had contacted me or I'd heard from them, roughly, but Terra Firma wasn't one of them. So they had the first overall pick and the 12th overall pick. So the first pick in the first round and the last pick in the first round. And they went in the first round with Stephen Holt, my teammate, who he's actually older. This is his first time playing in Asia. He's 32 now. Played at Santa Clara in the States, played in the G League, played in Euro League. He's been everywhere, Australia. So they went with him. And I was kind of thinking, there's a team that had made a promise to me, okay, if you're available in the second round, we'll take you. So I was like, okay, I'll probably go with them. But no, I had no clue, I had no conversations with Terra Firma before the draft. They must have just seen something or, heard that, I'd be a steal to take in the first round, and they took a chance.
That's awesome. I think that's incredible that you talk to half the league and then one of the teams that you don't talk to ends up grabbing you. And what was the process like getting your passport? Because I know even in the US, getting your passport renewed can be tough. What was the process? How long did that take start to finish for the Filipino passport?
Man, it was a journey. It started with my mom. My mom had to get her passport in order for me to get my passport. She is obviously full Filipina, but she was born in the States. She was born in New York. Her parents immigrated over here in the 60s, 70s, and so she wasn't naturalized citizen of the Philippines at the time. So it started with her going through the whole process of sending paperwork to a consulate in New York, waiting for that, 4 to 6 weeks for that to come back, then having to go to San Francisco. She flew to San Francisco to get paperwork done, and then she was finally able to get her passport sent to her. So I owe a lot of, me being here to my mom. First of all, for being Filipino, second of all, for going through the whole process of getting her paperwork. But once she was done, I had to meet a deadline. So it's funny, the draft deadline to submit your application was in August. And I'm sitting there in June, I think might have been late May, early June. My mom had just gotten her passport, and I'm looking at all these steps. Man, this is going to take 4 to 6 weeks. This next step's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. Am I going to meet the deadline? And I was kind of tripping out. I'm like, man, if I knew if it didn't work out in the Philippines, I was going to go play in Vietnam or Singapore. There's other leagues out here that I could go play in, but it's like, man, I really want to go play in PBA. And it's just a miracle. God had a hand in it. Everything went smoothly. There were challenges, there were bumps in the road. It wasn't 100% smooth sailing, but it's funny. I got my passport officially back after weeks and months of work the week of draft deadline. So it really was a
Jeez.
miracle.
That is a miracle. That's crazy. Well, it's been a crazy journey for you all along with basketball. I mean, we've known each other since high school, BYU basketball camp. I don't know if we were sophomores or juniors, but we first met there, stayed in touch. You were very big time in high school. Palo Verde, right? You were average 27 as a senior, which doing some research for this episode, I look back, I knew you were good, but 27, I mean, that's a big number there. And your first team all state in a very, very good basketball state. So out of high school, you commit to SUU, right? You were committed to SUU. So,
I was signed. Yeah.
oh, you signed. I didn't realize you had signed there. So you're committed, signed. And that's under what coach? Was that before Simon?
That was with Nick Robinson.
Okay, okay, okay. So I was trying to remember in my mind how you went from SUU to BYU, but that would make sense as he was no longer at SUU and then he's an assistant at BYU. Is that kind of how that all came to fruition?
Yeah, so I had signed. It's crazy thinking back now how long it's been. I mean, we're the same class, so we're
Yeah.
looking back at 2015, the beginning of our senior years. It's November of 2015. I had committed to SUU that summer and signed with them before the start of our senior year with Coach Robinson. He was a big part of why I was going there. Just a few hours from home, Utah, good guy. I had committed alongside Mason Fawcett, who I'm sure you remember from, he played at SUU for, I think,
Yeah,
5 years. And
he always played very well against us when I was at Utah Valley. I
yeah,
mean, he could play.
yeah, yeah, had a great career. So I was really excited about that. But no, I've had a great senior year. I think a big part of that was the fact that I had committed. I had that weight off my shoulders. I mean, I didn't feel like I had to play with any stress, which I know I'm sure you can talk about that stress of not knowing where you're going to go, the way that your journey happened kind of last minute there. But no, they SU had struggled and they let go of Coach Robinson, and I basically went on my mission not knowing what was going to happen when I got back after those 2 years.
Yeah, so you go to North Carolina, and which mission was it? Was it Raleigh? Was it
Yeah,
Wilmington? Raleigh.
it was Raleigh. I spent a lot of time in Wilmington, but
I
that was
I
the Raleigh mission.
remember I remember you being in Wilmington, and I'm sure you came back a much better man after serving in the South, living in the South for a little bit. I remember I was on your emails, so I would get your emails. I remember seeing some pictures of you dunking on folks in your shirt and tie, and did you go to Duke's campus? I feel like I remember you sending some pictures. Did you go to a
I did.
game?
I did.
What was that?
I did, dude. So I served in Durham. We were the Spanish missionary. So I had Duke in Durham and I had UNC in Chapel Hill, and they were both in my area. So they're only a few miles down the road. So it's crazy to have both of those, storied universities and that rivalry in the same area. And I was actually there during March Madness. Um, but the fall before I was there, even serving in that area, I did get to go to a, funny enough, Utah Valley at Duke game. And I was standing there front row next to the Cameron Crazies watching, Connor, Jake Toulson, and these guys go up against, I'm pretty sure it was Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter that year, Grayson Allen. So yeah, nothing like Cameron indoor. It's insane.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. It's funny that you go from watching UVU on your mission, and then at Westminster we would play y'all every year. I feel like it's funny how that works out. So you get home from your mission, you end up at BYU, and I was like, oh my gosh, Taylor's here at BYU. Like, it was crazy to me how our paths had crossed again, and then you end up at Snow. What was your JUCO experience like? What was Ephraim like?
Ephraim. um, at the end of the day, I love Ephraim. It's a part of my journey. It helped me grow a lot. I think I would appreciate it more so now than I did at the time. I had a rough. There's a lot of pride in basketball. I want to play at the highest level possible, and when things don't particularly pan out the way that you imagine it, sometimes you have to change and adjust and take a different path. And a lot of times that can take a hit on your pride. So going from BYU, you know how that is. Everyone wants to go there. Everyone wants to be there. It is what, especially as members of the church who grow up, in the church hooping, that's like the Mecca, right? So to go and, be a part of that and then leave, you feel like you're taking a step down. You feel like you're taking a hit. Like, man, I didn't make it. I couldn't hack it. And then I never would have thought I'm gonna go play junior college basketball. That just I couldn't name, in my ignorant, brain growing up, I couldn't name a junior college. I knew Slick. My dad played there for a year, but it's like Snow College. Like, what am I doing? But it was a quick wake up call going there. I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna dominate everyone, right? But we had a very good team. A lot of good players come out of Snow College, and a few of them. Trey Farr went and was all conference. We had Traden Christensen, who's at BYU now. Matt Norman, who went and was, I think he was sixth man of the year in the
Summit League.
um, at North Dakota Summit League. Summit League. He's a pro now. So I mean, we had a really tough team, and it was, like I said, it was a wake up call. Not much to do in Ephraim. Turkey farms, small town vibes, coming from the big city, coming from Vegas, and being in Provo where it's very busy. Going to Ephraim and there being one stoplight, and you go walk around Walmart like it's the mall, was a little bit of a change for me. But I look back on those days with positive memories. Had great great teammates, and it all works out at the end of the day. I left with a very different mindset than I had going in.
Who was your coach at Snow? Was it the coach who had been there for a while? Because I know now it's Andrew May. Who was your coach at Snow?
It was Rob Nielsen.
So is he the one that had been there for years, kind of old school?
Years and years. Yeah, super old school. I've played for all old school coaches now looking back. I don't know if I would classify Coach Rose as old school necessarily, but yeah, he was an old school coach who actually had a great style. I really enjoyed his offense. But me being young, I think it can be tough for young players sometimes who I like to think of myself as more of a creative, instinctual type player to enter old school system. Um, there was a lot of growing pains with that.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. It's funny you said that because I actually visited Snow as a junior, so I had nothing, had no. I mean, I had a few Division III offers, a couple Division II offers. So I visited Ephraim and like played with the guys, and I was like, oh man, this is out here. But I mean, I would have gone to Snow had like nothing else become available. Out of high school, I would have been like, okay, well, here we go. And again, I was the same way. I was like, man, I don't know. And then I when I was leaving BYU, I went and watched you guys play in like a jamboree at Slick. And I was like, these guys can play. I was like looking around, Slick had some dudes, y'all had some dudes. I was like, geez, this isn't like a walk in the park. Like you hear about JUCO, it's like, oh, JUCO, but then you go and see some games. I mean, it's a beast.
It's no joke. I mean, I remember leaving Ephraim. We flew out to Fort Myers, Florida to play at what
Southwest
was it?
Florida. Yeah.
Florida Southwestern, and they were just loaded. I don't think a single guy on their team wasn't mid to high major. And it's funny, a bunch of white boys from Ephraim, Utah, pull up. We're looking all raggedy, and we hop off the plane, we step on that court, and they were number 2 in the country at the time. And we ended up giving them a game, sent it to overtime, and it's honestly my fondest college memory. Probably my biggest memory was, I caught the ball on the right wing with a few seconds left, or sorry, it was at the top of the key, attacked, came off the ball screen to the right wing, split defense, finished, and a bunch of white boys from Utah upset the number 2 team in the country. So yeah, it's no joke. It's definitely big time competition, but um, yeah, I mean, white boys from Utah can play. You and I, coming from out of the state, it's you don't always expect it, but it's true.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. So you talked about that probably being your fondest memory from Snow and maybe all of college. What were some of your favorite moments at Westminster?
You know, my mind immediately goes to everything off the court, and I don't know if you can relate to that. Being teammates with Trey Farr, he talked about experiences that he had with you, but it was never. No, I did hear some on-court experiences about you, and I'd love to talk about that after. But No, my mind immediately goes to um, times at the hotel, on the flights, bus rides, at the restaurants, right? I think that's one thing that I miss most, and hope that guys don't take for granted, is just being a part of a team, um, developing relationships with your teammates that are going to go beyond our playing days. So my mind immediately goes to, yeah, all those moments just messing around in the hotels, grabbing a little ball and jumping in the pool at the hotel and playing like a volleyball game where we're all just hitting a ball in the air, seeing how many hits we can get in the air. Like little stupid things like that are the more clear memories that I have. You know, I can think of times, yeah, we won games. We played in
Yeah.
Vivint, played in the Jazz Arena. You played at Utah State. Utah State is probably my greatest experience on court in college, but no, definitely those fun times off the court with the guys.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My follow-up question was going to be, you played with a couple of our close friends, Trey Farr, Lewis Johnson. What was it like playing with those guys, being on the court with two hilarious guys off the floor? How did y'all kind of be serious? Were there ever moments where y'all just like laughing?
um, I mean, it's definitely more lighthearted. I think because we had that relationship off the court, it's hard for you to seriously be upset. I can't be that mad at Trey for dropping a pass, or Lewis for dropping a pass, or they can't be that mad at me for throwing a bad post entry, because we actually have a bond, a brotherhood off the court. So, I mean, I think that applies to more than just Trey and Lewis. It's, every guy that I played with at Westminster. I don't think there's really anyone that I had beef with necessarily, or anyone that I have any hard feelings towards. And that's what makes a great team, is your ability to stay together, cheer for one another, root for one another. Um, but it definitely helps, yeah, having Lewis and Trey. I mean, I can go down the line of guys to, we have so much fun off the court, it's only going to translate on the court.
Yeah, I always love seeing the clips where they were highlight moments and like two of y'all three would be involved somehow. I thought it was awesome. Now back to currently, how's the season been for you in the PBA so far?
Just like any season, you experience your ups and downs. We talk about adjusting to normal life. I not only had to adjust off the court to everything here, but and I'm continuing to adjust to everything on the court here. The PBA is no joke. It's the oldest professional basketball league in Asia, and Filipinos love their basketball. It's not like places around the world, Brazil, where soccer is life, right? Football. It's basketball here. Basketball is life, and they take this league very seriously. And I remember showing up for my first practice. Guys are there in the gym early, just grinding. It's weird playing professionally. You have older teammates. It's not college where, we're the oldest guys because we serve missions, and okay, we're 24, 25 and we're old, right? I walked in the gym, there's a 41-year-old PBA legend in a full sweat, just grinding. So you're playing alongside and competing with guys who have years and years of professional experience. So I walk in all confident, right? And I have a great first practice, but this 30-year-old guard who I'm going against isn't just going to let me come in and be a hot shot. So I'm trying to come off screens. I'm getting tackled. I'm getting held. I'm getting bumped, right? And it just an all-out, basically brawl on the court, and they're not calling anything, which I love it. I welcome it, but I learned right then and there, and continue to learn on a daily basis, that this is no joke. This is physical. I'm gonna have to take the weight room seriously. I'm gonna have to adjust. I'm gonna have to learn how refs call these games, and especially as a rookie, I'm not gonna get anything handed to me. So that's kind of been the biggest thing for me right now, is adjusting to the level of physicality, adjusting to the pro game, you have to be so disciplined, just because similarly to the NBA, these guys aren't as athletic as guys in the league and not as tall necessarily, but they technically are so sound. They're so sound. They're going to get you on pump fakes, step through, like whatever little bumps. You've got to be so disciplined in everything that you're doing. So it's been good. It's been a learning curve for me. I've got great teammates, but I find myself getting more and more confident each and every day in practice. And I've had some good moments on the court that show me, you know what, I can do this. I can play in this league, and I've got a long way to go, but it almost makes it more exciting that I have something to improve on every day, because I'm really not, as much as I thought I was, I'm not the player that I want to be.
Yeah, not yet, not yet. I like how you talked about the basketball tradition in the Philippines. And I was a big Manny Pacquiao guy growing up. I mean, those Pacquiao Mayweather fights, like I like looked online for some Pacquiao gear growing up. Like I would love Pacquiao. And I remember they would post like clips of Pacquiao playing. And I thought it was so cool. Like everyone just loves basketball down there. And it's so funny because the average height, I mean, there's no way it's over like 5'5", right? Like they're short.
Oh, they're short. They're short. And I have teammates who are short, 5'8", and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Let me go down to the post. Let me, do what you would normally do to, shorter guys, and they're not pushovers here. They may be lacking in height, but just like Manny Pacquiao, man, I don't know how tall he is, but you don't want to mess with him. It's with
Yeah.
him. It's just these other guys are the same way. You don't want to mess with them.
And so I went to the Brazil MTC, and there were, in our little group, there were like 5 Filipinos, and they were the nicest people. Like I still stay in touch with a couple of them. Have they been welcoming? Like your teammates, are they super nice, or is it kind of like strictly business, or a little in the middle?
So I was actually worried about that before I got here. My uncle, who I'd mentioned before, that had coached in the PBA, kind of mentioned, you know what, there's kind of a stigma towards Phil-Ams, Filipino-American players who are coming over. It's like, oh, they're taking jobs from the locals, right? So sometimes they can be met with a little bit of hostility. But so I had that in the back of my mind when I got here. But everyone has been welcoming, completely welcoming. Haven't had any issues with that. It's been actually the silver lining in it all, the ups and downs of a season. It's nice to have a team full of just good guys who, even if things aren't going our way, we've been on a little bit of a losing streak, but we're going to stay together because everyone, um, treat each other as brothers. So it's been awesome. My teammates have been really good. The people here are so kind and so service oriented. It's funny. There's security guards everywhere you go. I mean, it's way overpopulated here. There's millions of people. So because of that, there's just so many jobs, and just security guards, service people everywhere. And they're always just waving. So it's real similar to the South in the sense that they're going to say hi to you. They're going to ask
Yeah,
how you're doing and open the door for you. So yeah, Philippine people they're amazing.
that's awesome. And what are some of the different rules between the NBA and the PBA?
Um, so the PBA is different in the sense that it doesn't follow FIBA rules 100%. It's 48-minute games, which I think is different from EuroLeague. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But we play 4 12-minute quarters. I haven't seen that tip out of the rim. I'm talking about,
Yeah, yeah,
if they,
that was one of my biggest.
roll around.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't seen that. Don't think that's a thing. I don't think that's a thing in our league. But everything else I don't notice any big differences. Players can't call timeouts. There's no player timeouts. Has to be coach call timeouts. It's
Have you have you
nothing
caught
too different.
have you caught yourself at all trying to call one? Like as a point guard, I'm sure there's been like a moment where it's like you're thinking about it.
Right. And no, I haven't had to quite yet.
Well, that's
Most of
good.
us that typically will come in crunch time in a close
Yeah.
game. It hasn't come to that yet. No.
Yeah. Um, Is there a limit on Americans per roster? Because I know the passport thing is huge. I don't think a lot of people that are very familiar with overseas basketball, like you having a passport makes you very, very valuable to these teams. Is there a limit on the Americans per roster? Is there a height restriction for something? I feel like I heard that one time.
Yeah, yeah. So the PBA is funny. It's structured differently than most leagues. It's broken up into conferences. So right now we're in the first conference of the season that will end in mid-February. So, and then we'll have another break and the next conference will start. So they kind of break it up into cups. Right now it's the Commissioner's Cup where we're allowed one import player and there is a height limit in this one. I think it's 6'9".
Oh, okay.
Um,
So I mean, it's not.
only
It's
it's yeah. So it's funny. Yeah, there's a height limit, only one import. Our next conference, it's all Filipino, so no imports, no height limit, and yeah, it's typically there's three conferences in a season.
okay. And you don't count as the import, correct? Because you've got the passport. So is the guy who got drafted number one, is it Stephen Holt? Is he an import or does he have a passport as well?
No, yeah, so everyone that enters the draft is a passport holder or a local.
Okay. 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 And it's a 2-year deal that you're on with them. Is that for sure?
Signed a 2-year contract, 2-year guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And are you in an apartment, a condo? What's the living situation?
Yeah, we're in a condo. It's actually it's nice. It's really nice. I wish I could show you the view outside this condo right now. We're in a big city. Manila's a big city, and everything's just built up. So we're on the 26th floor of this high rise, and you get to look out and see an awesome view. So it's pretty cool.
That's really cool. And what are some of your goals for your rookie season? I'm sure your expectations coming in, I'm sure it's been kind of crazy and you're adjusting on the fly. But what's been some of your goals for this year, your first year?
As a rookie, it's just learn as much as possible, adapt, and do whatever is necessary for the team to win. That's kind of what the coaches expect from me right now is to just pick up full court, play a lot of defense, pressure the ball, and they don't have too many expectations for me on offense. They give me freedom to they want me to be aggressive and play my game. But right now I'm very defensive minded. So in terms of goals, it's just right now I'm not one of the go-to guys on my team. I've got veteran players ahead of me who, you know, are earning the coach's trust more so than I am. It's just how it is. So, if nothing else, my main goal is to be able to be that guy that they look to in a clutch situation. There's 3 minutes left. We're down four. Go in, handle the ball, and take us home. So, if I can earn that trust by the end of the season, I think it's a win.
It's probably nice being on that 2-year deal as well, like knowing that they see value in you. I mean, 2 years overseas, that's basically long term. A lot of guys are year to year or even within a season hopping around. So that 2-year deal, I bet that's comforting to know that you've got time to put in the work to learn the system. That's nice. And you're the oldest of five. So how's that been all growing up? You got lots of siblings.
Yeah, you definitely feel the pressure of performing. Um, it's it's funny. We're getting to the point now in our lives where we're going to become parents here in the next however many years. As crazy that is, I don't think about that too often, but it's coming, and I don't feel ready for it. My parents had me when they were 19. I, like you said, I'm the oldest, and they didn't put a lot of pressure on me. I won't say that, but you know, there was that expectation of, dude, you're the firstborn. You've got to set the example for your younger siblings. You've got to stay in line, and I did a good job of it. Um, I think the pressure was good for me. I didn't mess around too much, got good grades, took care of business. But um, I think the greatest part about being in the position I'm in with having a little brother that's grown up to become a stud. I'm sure you've seen his videos and whatnot. Is I've been through it once, so now I can turn around and show him the ropes, make sure that he's doing the right things, and um, being a role model that he needs in his journey.
Yeah, having someone in his corner is going to be huge. And researching for this episode, I went to Westminster's page just to read the bio, whatever they had written, and it's hilarious. They said that you have a brother who is a TikTok star. And I think it's so funny that's it's he's so much more than a TikTok star, but it's funny that that's what they chose to put on there. He's got some highlight dunks as it runs in the family. You've got a bunch as well. Um, how about the food? What's the food been like? What's the best thing you've eaten and maybe the worst thing you've eaten?
So that's actually been the best part so far. We're eating good. We're eating real good. I was worried about it. My girlfriend, she's out here with me. She's vegan, and not only is she vegan, she's a little picky. So it can complicate sometimes. But she's a great cook, so everything here is handled. I'm not going to say I'm vegan, but I'm getting to the point where I enjoy that realm of food much more. We found a place out here, and the restaurants out here are phenomenal. We eat, and it's a lot cheaper. It's cheaper, and the food is so good. We've found this place out here. It's like a healthy spot. You can get a little bit of everything. It's called Wholesome Table. It's got this pasta out here that's phenomenal. Um, the Filipino food is great. I love Filipino food. There's some restaurants out here that have all the traditional dishes that I love, but I haven't had anything that I necessarily dislike yet. There's some sus Filipino dishes that people always talk about, like the balut. It's like a little fermented egg, and you like slurp the egg. I haven't gotten into that stuff yet. I probably will have to before I go back home officially to just to say I've done it. But no, food's been great. I'm eating good.
And last question, what's the travel been like with the team? Are most the teams can you bus to? Are you guys flying everywhere? What's that like?
No, so all the teams are based here in Manila.
Oh,
The funny thing
wow.
about Manila is, yeah, it's great. They're all local, but you say it's great to get to the arena that's 3 miles away with all the traffic. It might take you 45 minutes. It's that traffic complicates things a ton. But no, we're driving everywhere. It's I have a team driver that me and Stephen Holt, our top pick, we hop in with. But all our games are at local sites. There's I think about 4 different arenas that we get to play in. They're awesome arenas. One of them is the Arnetta Coliseum, where I'm sure you've heard of the Thrilla in Manila with Muhammad Ali.
Oh, yeah.
That took place in there. So I love to go in there and see the banner up on the wall every time we play there. But no, we just hop in the car and drive, not so far to the couple local arenas that we have. No one has a home arena. There's neutral sites.
Yeah, that's a very interesting format, and I bet it's pretty efficient, and I bet the fans love it. I mean, everything's close by. And what's the fan base like? Like when you got drafted, were they blowing you up? Like you get a bunch of followers?
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, like I said, it's everything to them here. So I'm getting DMs from the most random Filipinos. What they do is I don't necessarily like it, but they call you idol. Like, hey, idol. Like, I'm so excited to see you play here. I get here and I it's funny, to you, I might look Filipino, but out here, I don't necessarily look Filipino. They look at me as like a white guy almost. So when a taller-ish, I'm only 6'2", but I'm taller out here, right? Whitish looking guy, American looking guy is walking around. They're like, okay, something's up. Some people do recognize me. When I first got here, I was having a lot more people trying to take selfies and take pictures with me when I'm just walking around, going to the mall, whatever. Um, at the games, they're crazy. They're always wanting to stop and take pictures and autographs and things. So the fans are insane. They're insane, but they're awesome. I'm glad I'm getting to have this experience because it feels like you're providing a little bit um, of entertainment value for these people more so than just, I'm just going to go out and play basketball. Like, no, I'm going to try to give these fans, I'm going to play hard, I'm going to play with passion and give these fans what they pay for.
Yeah, that's super cool. And do you still have family in the Philippines, in Manila, or do you have any family on your mom's side still there?
Yeah, I have relatives, I have cousins, I've got relatives in Congress out here, people who, um, I'm able to connect with that I haven't connected with ever. Or, it's been 20 plus years since they were able to make it out to the States. I'm able to see them now and get them to come out to games and stuff. So it's been good. It's another layer to the whole journey, just connecting with family on the other side of the world.
And was your mom out there recently? I feel like I saw you post your mom out there. What was that like
Yeah,
having her out there?
it was awesome, man. She flew out, spent 8 days. Her and my grandma came out, and they were able to see my first minutes, my first buckets as a professional. So that was a special moment to step on that court, have my dreams become a reality, and then have my mom and my grandma and my girlfriend there to witness it.
That's incredible. That's super special. And your girlfriend, I know you've always had game. How did you convince her to to go across the world like that? What was the initial conversation like? Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing.
That's exactly it. I just rizzed her up. Just she walked up on me and I said, "Hey, I'm going to the Philippines. You want to come?" No, it's funny. Our relationship took off really quick. I was very upfront about it. I was worried. I didn't necessarily want to come out here by myself, but I was open to it and I was prepared for it. I'm just going to do it, right? God has a funny way of working things out, and He, let her walk into my life at the Strawberry Days Carnival in Pleasant Grove, and um, I was leaving a few months after that, and I thought, there's no way that she's going to follow me out here. We just met. There's no way that she's would even be willing to do that. I wasn't going to ask her to do it either, but she brought it up. She was all for it. She's crazy for it, and but I couldn't be more grateful for her being out here and following me, leaving her dog and cats at home and the comforts of the States to be out here. It's it's great to come back from a long day of practice and have a little bit of comfort and a good meal and some entertainment, someone to hang out with. I mean, you know how it is, married life. I'm not quite there yet, but getting pretty close, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's special. That's really cool. There's one more question. Let me think of it super quick. Oh, how long is the season? Like what's the start to finish? Because when did you get there? You get there last month or 2 months?
I got here the end of September, so it started later because the Philippines was one of the sites to host the World Cup, the FIBA World Cup.
Oh,
They
okay.
pushed the season back. The season didn't start until the first week of November. So I got here end of September, practice all of October, started in November. And like I said, it's broken up into conferences. So this conference goes from November to February. The next one is from March until June. So everything's pushed back a couple months. So I probably won't get to come back to the States until sometime in June. And then the next one will probably start sometime in August, get back on that normal schedule in line with most overseas leagues.
I gotcha. Man, well, that's incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing the journey, and I know you've been prepared for this for a long time. You've had lots of ups and downs, lots of unexpected things come your way throughout the journey, and I'm always been impressed by how you handle yourself on and off the court. So I'm rooting for you, man. And anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Thank you, brother. No, likewise. No, I appreciate you having me, man. It's good to see you. Best of luck to you and Sid out there. Hope this pod takes off. And I just want you to know, when people ask me, I don't always get the question, who's the best shooter that you've ever played with or seen? But it'll come up in conversation like, oh, so and so is the best shooter that I've ever seen. You know who my answer is. And you can ask Trey Fard, you can ask Lewis, any of these guys. We've talked about it before. The best shooter, most efficient shooter that I've ever seen is Colby Layson. So add that to the pod. Make sure that everyone knows that it's not just some guy sitting with the number 13 with a couple of jerseys behind him. Like, the real deal, Colby Layson, knockdown shooter. I remember the story. Trey told me this. about the, I don't know what you guys might have called it, the Wolverine 100 or whatever at UVU. And yeah, whoever makes the most gets a pair of shoes or whatever. So you go and knock down, I'm not going to butcher the story, but 95 or whatever, 96, go tell the coaches they don't believe you. So I'm going to come back, set up my phone and record it and do the exact same thing. I've heard all these stories and I believe them.
I appreciate you, Taylor. And it's funny, I wouldn't believe you, but Mark Amakasu, who you trained Benny some, and I also trained Benny a little bit when I was at UVU, and he told me the same thing. He's like, you know Taylor Miller? I was like, yeah, Taylor's a good buddy of mine. And he's like, he said you're the best shooter that he's ever met. And I'm like, all right, now I believe it. Now I believe it. No, I appreciate
There
that.
it is. There it is.
Oh, all right, man. Well, I'll be rooting for you all season long, and I got to meet the girlfriend soon. So next time you're in the States, you let us know. We'll link up.
Hey, we'll come out south, man. I need some of those southern vibes.
Hey, we'll do it. We'll go on your mission. Go visit the mission. Go see some games.
Cool. All right,
All
brother. I
right, brother.
appreciate you. Much love.
Well, have a good one. See you, man.
Peace.